Are Candace and Asal actually sisters? Is this the real IOTA secret? Is this like really what I'm going to talk about for 20 minutes? Unfortunately, no, I could not come up with enough material to talk about Candace and Asal as sisters for 20 minutes. But the reason I bring this up is because a couple of months ago, after our first chapter of the semester, Candace and Asal told me that there is a slight possibility that they might actually be related. And I bring that up for two reasons. Number one, it validated the last 2 years of my existence. And number two, it really changed the story around for me in my head. Because before, the story was, wow, we're all kind of terrible for confusing them for each other just because, you know, they're friends and have similar interests and adore Teresa and are both Persian and Jewish. And then it turned the story around into, yeah, they're probably actually twins. You know, having the knowledge and perspective that I have now just changed the story the way it was in my head. Which brings me to the actual subject of my TED Talk. Changing your narrative, my actual TED Talk. And again, my name is Teresa, so snacks. What do I mean when I say your narrative? I mean the way you tell your story. And the reason I say that is because I remember I read once, the writer Kurt Vonnegut went to a conference and he was explaining why people crave drama in their lives. And he said that we grew up surrounded by big dramatic story arcs in books and movies. So we think that our lives are supposed to be filled with huge ups and downs. So people pretend there is drama where there is none, which I think is very true. But I think we can also broaden this concept into the way we see ourselves. We see ourselves like characters in a book or a movie or a TV show. And like those characters, we have certain characteristics. You know, we can go through change and growth and trials and tribulations, but in the end, we kind of see ourselves the same way. So for example, this was my bio page during mid-semester. And this is how I was defining my narrative back then. So like, I like dinosaurs. I sort of kind of study chemistry. I like being in the band. I love NBC sitcoms with strong lead women. And a lot of these things are very true. But these are sort of surface level things about me that can change from time to time. And here was how I was really seeing myself. So that's me when I was 5 playing t-ball. And this is me at 15 doing something stupid for high school. And me at 20 doing something stupid for journeyman semester. Just kidding. It was really valuable. And here is the actual substantial narrative I had internalized in my head for 20 years. I thought, I am overweight, I am lazy, I am not an active person, and these things cannot change. So obviously there's a lot of problems with the way I was seeing myself, but I think the worst consequence of the way I had internalized this narrative was that I was afraid of doing a lot of things. I was limiting myself because I wasn't comfortable with who I was. I didn't like going swimming. I didn't want to go on hikes with my friends because I was really afraid I wouldn't be able to keep up and I would embarrass myself. I was limiting myself, again, because I wasn't comfortable with who I was, but I wasn't doing anything to change it because I just assumed this is the way things are. Like, this is just my narrative, and I can see how it's going to go, and it's going to go indefinitely like this for the rest of my life, and this is my story. So in essence, the way I was defining myself, I put myself in this box, and it had become my reality. Sometime in the fall of 2012, things started changing, and slowly, this is going to be really cheesy, but my reality became my past. PowerPoint. Yeah, I really wish I could stand up here and, like pinpoint an exact event or anything that happened, and say like, I realized my narrative was damaging to me, and so I made an effort to change it, but it really kind of happened in a backwards manner where I changed a lot, and then I looked back upon what I had done and who I had become, and I realized, I had changed my narrative. So again, I really wish I could stand up here and say, like, you should all do this because I did it, but I didn't. I'll just be honest. But I thought anyways I would talk about how I kind of went about doing that. So most of you know, because I never shut up about it, that the big change with a capital C for me came when I started running. I started running on a day when I just needed this emotional release, and I realized how great it was. This is me after my first 5K with my dad. And, like, I'd never been an active person, but once I realized how therapeutic it was for me, I just kind of never looked back. And this is me after my first 10K and then my first half marathon. It looks like I did it all on the same day, and I will allow you to think that about me. But anyway, obviously, again, I mentioned the therapeutic aspects of running, but what I really, really like about races, especially, is seeing the running community up close, because they're so supportive and so great. And there's so many very impressive people who are running really, really fast all the time. But I think my favorite people in the running community are the people who don't really typically look like the typical runner. So like the middle-aged men and women who are a bit rounder around the middle and have clearly like gotten their second lease on life. And I really like looking at them and like seeing them beat me in all these races, because I look at them and I realize like they have even harsher narratives that are set for them by society or by their aging bodies or by their real life responsibilities. And they're rejecting those narratives and saying, I'm going to run because I want to. And I think if they can do that, I can tell that little part of me that still sees myself as a lazy person to like shut up because I'm going to go for a run. And she can come along if she wants, but I'm not going to wait for her. So, yes. And I also want to take a second right here to say that, just to make a disclaimer that this talk is not about weight loss. I'm not saying that like everyone just needs to lose weight and they'll be happy. And like it's an incredibly complex topic. I'm not gonna it's physically and mentally. There's so many factors. I'm not gonna stand up here and say like you just need to open your minds and it will happen. So again, I want to emphasize that weight loss just happened to be a part of my journey towards changing my narrative. And because especially for me, it wasn't even really about the weight loss. It was that I was no longer limiting myself, and I was able to experience all these adventures I had wanted to before, but I wasn't able to because I just thought these are the things. This is the way things are. So, again, I just want to emphasize that, like, if there's something about yourself that you're not comfortable with or you don't like, but you've just always accepted because you just think this is the way things are, this is the way my story goes, I would really encourage you to look at it and see if there's something you could do to change that, because there's so few things in this world that just have to be because that's the way it is. Because 2 years ago, this girl could not even run for longer than 2 minutes on her initiation night, and it was really annoying to her teammates, but, it happened. And on Sunday, that same girl finished the LA Marathon. So I think we're all capable of changing a lot more than we think. And also, yes, Candace and Assault are related, so you're welcome, and thank you for listening to my TED Talk.